Hi, everybody. So today I want to talk about how if a child is estranged from their parents, it's always the parents' fault. We hear all these arguments about how children are ungrateful, how the parents sacrifice, but none of these came at the child's request. And so before I even jump into the arguments, I just want to play this video from TikTok.
The biggest cop out in the world that I hear from the estranged adult child community on this platform is that they don't owe their parents anything. Yes, I'm going to say it. Yes, you do. You absolutely do. You owe your parents for bringing you into this world and keeping you alive. You owe them for the love they gave you, the caring they showed you, and the protection that they afforded you as they sent you on your way to live your life. And yes, you owe them, as the good parents that they were, a seat at your wedding and an opportunity to have a relationship with their grandchildren. If they were good parents to you, yes, you owe them. And I'm so tired of that psychobabble that provides you a cop out of mass proportions. You do. You owe them. The biggest.
All right, y'all. So this is somebody who wants to extract. This is somebody who feels that she is entitled to grandchildren. She feels that she's entitled to a lifelong, um, and a lifetime of extraction. That her children exist to serve her needs, to make her happy. Now, I've already listened to her son's side of the story, and basically, the son had a bad relationship with her. He talked about how he wanted to protect his children from her. So he didn't want his children to have a relationship with her. Now, of course, she's not going to take any accountability. She is the parent. She created the child. The child did not create her. And this is something that my father did to me also. He made it seem like this was a vertical relationship, and it was not. So let me just talk about the two reasons why a child would be estranged from their parents, or basically the framework for any condition that arises from the parent-child relationship. There's only two ways to look at this. There's nature and nurture. So the child is born with their parents' genetics, at least half of it. And then there's the nurture, the environment, the upbringing, their experiences. And both of these are entirely the parent's fault. The nature is the raw material of the child's DNA, their brain development, their temperament, their natural disposition. Completely entire. It's entirely the parents' fault because that's something that the parents impose on them. It doesn't matter if they have a genetic disorder. There are people on TikTok complaining because their children have developmental challenges. They have Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, whatever. It's like you created that child. Secondly, there's nurture. Everything that happened in the child's upbringing is entirely the parents' fault. Their environment, their relationships, the institutions in which they were born, the circumstances that shape who they later became. Now, they will act like, oh, it's not my fault because, wow, the child was raised with the mother instead of the father. Okay, well, you chose the mother. You chose the person who you did not have a good relationship, and you decided to create a child. So even if the child didn't was not raised by you, that still is your fault. They will blame the state. They will say, "Oh, well, I couldn't raise my children the way I wanted to because what I couldn't discipline them the way I wanted to. Like I put them in public school. The school had influence. That still is your fault. You brought that child into existence under those conditions. You knew those conditions existed before you created the child. These are completely foreseeable. You had no foresight. So if you put your child in public school and you don't like the outcome, that still is your fault." Now, some of them will try to get out of this because they will talk about free will. They will act as if you raised yourself, that you chose to become who you are. This is complete nonsense. And I'm going to tell you, I don't believe that we have free will. First of all, we did not choose to exist. Existence was imposed on us without consent. You didn't choose your brain. You didn't choose your neurological chemistry, your emotions. You didn't choose the fact that you were born with needs. Now, I guess I'm eventually going to get into the personality disorders. And almost all of them are based on childhood development. The only one that I say that isn't based on childhood development is schizoid, which I think I am. But because schizoid happens a little bit later in life. But most of it happens in early childhood development. But again, I'm going to talk about that separately. 1 second, Mike. The child did not choose their social class, the quality of their schools, their neighborhood. They didn't choose where they were born. They didn't choose their political system, the cultural norms. They didn't choose their religion. I mean, obviously, you can opt out later, but a lot of times when you're indoctrinated as a child, that sticks with you for the rest of your life. They didn't choose their language. They didn't choose the historical moment in which they were born, the social movements, the technology, the wars. So there is no free will. And according to author Schopenhauer, a man can do what he wills, but he cannot will what he wills. So a person can act on their desires, they can pursue what they want, and choose between limited options. But the will itself was not freely chosen. You didn't choose to have a will in the first place, is what I'm saying. You don't choose what you want. For example, you could have a desire to do something and maybe you can go against it. Like you could, maybe you have a sexual preference, you can go against that. Or maybe you have a food preference, you can go against that. But you did not choose to have those desires in the first place. And even the parent-child relationship, you didn't choose to be your parent's child. You did not choose that. And so a lot of times you feel guilty because they do manipulate you to make you feel like you owe them something. And so even when a relationship is toxic, you sort of endure it just because that's what a good person does. What type of monster would not have a good relationship with their parents, even though their mother is being abusive, even though they're extracting and causing them to be depressed? You feel obligated just because this is what you've been conditioned to feel, right? Everybody asks you, like, oh, what is your relationship with your parents like? And it's like, I don't have a relationship with my parents. I don't talk to them. I mean, my father is deceased. My mother is still here, but I haven't talked to her in years. I have no desire to. So this is axiomatic. Parents create children. Children don't create their parents. And this has to be said explicitly because when I talked to my father, he made it seem as if this was an equal relationship. Like, I'm trying to remember the context. It was he made it seem like whatever, like, whatever I was doing to him was the same as him doing it to me. It's like, no, you created me. Like, this is not a horizontal relationship. It's never been. The creator is always responsible for the creation. A manufacturer is always responsible for the product. If the product is defective, the manufacturers are liable. And you'll have parents who will create children and then they'll blame the child because the child is gay or transgender or whatever the case may be. It's like you created your damn child, right? Again, you can talk about how public school had an influence on your child, but you put your child in public school. You created your child under these systems and institutions, and then you want to act like it's the child's fault. It's not the child's fault. And if you didn't have sovereignty over your own life and you put your child into a system where you didn't have any control or agency over how your child was going to be raised, then maybe you shouldn't have created that child. But you don't get to blame the child for how they came out when you created that child. It makes no damn sense. Let me see if I have any comments before I keep going. I'm so, if I created my child, then why are they all five completely different from each other and me? I'm not saying that, well, even though they were all raised in the same household and they probably had similar experiences, their experiences are not exactly the same. They were born at different times. Even biological twins are not the same, and they have the even if they're identical twins are not exactly the same. They experience things a little bit differently. They react to trauma differently. Um, I'm not the same as my brother. My brother reacted to the abuse that we both experienced differently. I At the end of the day, you can't say that it's the child's fault because you created the child. Hello. You don't have control over the experience thing. But you created the child. You had godlike authority to create that child. You set the whole thing in motion. You had all control. It was a vertical relationship where you completely dominated that child. You forced them into existence, and now you're saying it's not your fault. But the problem with that is if there are good outcomes, they want to take full credit for it and say, "Oh, I raised my children correctly. I was a good mother." But when things turn to shit, it's never their fault. It's never their fault. This is absolutely ridiculous. Let me see if there's any other comments. Yeah, I appreciate it. This is not going to be a long one. I'm just, well, yeah, they are. They are. I mean, I'm not going to stir any drama this morning. Devon, by the way, I appreciate Devon for being here. Devon, if you, I tried to tag you on your channel, but can you please give me your email address? I would appreciate it. Well, yeah, that channel is just going downhill, but I don't need to talk about that person. That's someone who wants to extract. That's someone who used to be an anti-natalist and now is a turncoat. Probably lurking somewhere, stalking me right now. I don't know what it is about me that I always seem to attract these narcissists. It's like it's so fucking insane. They just can't. Anyway, let me stop talking about him. Um, it's like all my life, it's like I have unknowingly attracted all these narcissists who can't fucking just let it go, who just have to hoover and stalk. I just don't get it. Um, so again, the relationship is completely vertical. And I was trying to explain that to someone recently, and like there's only two choices. It's either vertical or it's horizontal. Um, I don't think there's any debate about it. It's complete domination. The child is completely dependent on you. The child has no agency over anything. You choose what food they eat. You have financial control over the child. You buy their clothes. You teach them their language. The child decides nothing. The child controls nothing. Parents demand complete submission from their child. They will say, oh, you should obey me, be respectful, do what I say, stay in your place, right? And then when you obey them and do exactly what they say, they still will abdicate any responsibility for the outcome. Even when they actively sabotage your career and you do what they tell you to do, they're still going to say it's not my fault. How do you have absolute power and then you disclaim any responsibility? How does that work? So basically, you want to be a god, you want to be a co-creator, and then basically, when it comes to the outcomes, it's just like, oh, I had no control over that. Yet you had complete control. So if you don't understand the power that you wield, then maybe you should not be exercising it. No accountability whatsoever. They will act as if their responsibility dissolves once you turn 18. They can't wait to kick you out the door like you were such a burden on them. By the way, I voluntarily left my father's home at the age of 17 and joined the military because I wanted to be free. So I escaped one master and then subjected myself to another master. Um, I don't know. I don't know. At the time, it's just like you just want to get out. I couldn't stand being a child. I hated being dominated like that. I just wanted my sovereignty. And then, of course, as I learned later, I still am not sovereign because the state is my master. So I just can't imagine a scenario in which it's not the parents' fault. The nature, the nurture, they will act like they can't control anything. I just if you I just don't understand how they don't think they have any power when they have complete power. It's the child who has no power. First of all, the child did not ask to be brought into existence, and I don't know how many times I can say this. If the child is a bad person, if the child has a genetic disorder, mental illness, these are all the parent's fault. The parent is the creator, the child is the creation. Now, I talk in my book about disinheriting children. I don't think that parents should have the right to disinherit their children. I think that inheriting your parents' property is a natural right. This is according to John Locke. I think that if the parent is not married, that it should automatically go to the child equally, depending on how many children the parents have. I think there should be forced airships. It does not matter how disrespectful the child was. It doesn't matter how long they haven't talked to the parents. You enslave your child to existence. You are your child's life enslaver. You set this whole thing in motion. You either raised them properly or did not raise them properly. It's 100% your fault. You don't get to disclaim responsibility for something that you set in motion, and then uh, apparently they don't take the role of being a parent seriously. They just think that it's just like adopting a puppy or buying a handbag. You're just some little accessory that they can just pull out to parade you around in public. You're just your little toy, your little mini me to validate their existence. They never think that you have your own experience, that maybe you're reacting to their abuse, and maybe that's why you're estranged from them. Maybe because the parents were actually driving you into depression and preventing you from living your best life. And so for your own survival, you had to become estranged from them. They don't care about that. They're entirely, I'm not going to say all parents, but when you are estranged from them, they don't have any empathy for why you are estranged. They don't think about what they did to cause you to separate from them. It's like you try over and over to have a relationship with them. They don't give a shit. They feel that they're the parent, you're the child. You should just tolerate their abuse, no matter how extreme it is. Just tolerate it because it's a vertical relationship. I'm the parent, you're the child. You should just tolerate it. You should just do what I say. Now, according to a Pew Research study, 44% of Americans believe that parents have no responsibility to provide financial assistance to their adult children. So they don't think they're creating a full human being who's going to have to navigate the world. They think they're only creating a child, and they're not responsible. They're not responsible for anything that happens in adulthood. So it goes back to the things I've been saying this entire time. They don't understand the full ramifications that come with the imposition of life. They think they're only creating a baby, not a full human being who is going to have to live to maybe 80 plus years. Now, that same Pew study found that 75% of Americans believe that adult children do have a financial responsibility to support their elderly parents. How does that work? So 44% believe that parents owe no financial responsibility to their adult parents, yet 75% believe that children owe a duty to take care of their elderly parents. Because they believe in extraction. This is why they procreate in the first place. They want a return on their investment. They will act like they're doing it entirely out of love. You can't love someone who doesn't exist. You created your child because you wanted to extract from them. You wanted a return on your investment. You wanted someone to love you, to take care of you in old age, to validate your existence, to give you social standing, to say, I'm a parent, therefore I'm a good parent. I'm a good person, excuse me, right? You will have people talk about how having children is the most rewarding thing they ever got in life, how it motivated them to become better people. They became vegan, they became Christian. They did all these wonderful things because of their children. How their children motivated them to become successful, because if they didn't have children to take care of, they never would have been ambitious enough to start that business, right? Or to seek that promotion. So their self-actualization came entirely at your expense. You gave them their will to live, and then they have the audacity to want to disinherit you. This is unjust enrichment. This is one party extracting value from another. without any remuneration, and you are entitled to restitution in the form of, at the very least, inheritance. The goods that you provided to your parents are not small. They're not inconsequential. These are substantial goods that you provided to your parents just by existing. It's not something that you have to do to earn. The very fact that you exist, the very fact that you carry your father's last name, the very fact that you carry their DNA, that they have a legacy that they imposed on you, that when they die, you're going to be their continuation, even though you did not consent to it. These are substantial goods that your parents extracted from you, and you are entitled to remuneration. As I state in my book, you are entitled to at least 50% of your parents' estate, assuming that your parents are not married. If they're not married, then you're entitled to 100% of their estate. Again, this is called a moral debt for life enslavement. This is not a legal debt. The law has not caught up with morality. I don't think parents should have any right to disinherit their children. It's completely ridiculous. The law in Europe, in many places, has already caught up with morality. There are forced airships in places like France, Spain, Italy, Germany, Scotland, and several other jurisdictions. Now, to get back to that lady, what is her name? She calls herself the doormat mom because she feels that she's a victim because her son doesn't talk to her. Let me just start out by saying what I said earlier is that the parent-child relationship is vertical. It's always vertical. It's necessarily vertical. As I said before, the parent-child relationship is the first society. It is a relationship of domination. Now, I know there's a concept of parental anarchy, that you can sort of have a vertical relationship where you sort of let the child make their own decisions. I don't think this is possible. I think that it doesn't matter how liberal you are as a parent. Just the structure of relationship is necessarily vertical. You are instilling your values on them. You created them in the first place. You have complete control financially and socially. I don't think that it's possible to have a horizontal relationship with your child. This is a unilateral imposition. This is a relationship in which parents put all these impositions on you that you're going to have to navigate life. And it's going to be entirely at your cost. They reaped all the benefits, right? They got all the benefits from having a child. They talk about how it's so rewarding. And then you pay all the damn costs. You're the one who's going to be a wage slave. You're the one who's going to be subjected to systemic oppression. You're the one who's going to have to suffer and die just so they can get the benefit of raising a damn child. And they think that you owe something. They think that you should be grateful. They will talk about how they sacrificed everything and that you owe them a relationship, that you should just tolerate their abuse. My mother literally said that I don't talk to my mother, but my brother recently became estranged from her. And I kept telling him, she does not give a fuck about you. She basically thinks that you're her slave. She thinks that you exist to serve her needs. And he couldn't see it, but she showed her ass, and then he saw it clearly. It was a stupid holiday because she loves holidays because that's her opportunity to extract narcissistic supply. And because he didn't call her, she threw a hissy fit. She called him at work, and And then he just hung the phone up on he hung the phone up on her. She didn't apologize. She's just like, well, I'm your mother. You should do this. You should do that. And then he finally saw what I've been telling him the whole time. He blocked her, and I hope he never talks to her again. I hope she deserves it. She deserves to sit and think about how abusive she's been throughout our entire lives. But she believes that because she's the mother, because she sacrificed, because of whatever she went through as a single mother, that we owe her. Even to the extent that she sabotaged my career for her own narcissistic supply. And she doesn't give a fuck. She's not sorry. She takes no accountability for anything. So, as I said before, the parent-child relationship is sort of a relationship of dependency where the child is completely dependent on parents. But as Rousseau said, once you become an adult, then that parent-child relationship is voluntary. You don't have a duty to maintain that relationship. Once you become self-sufficient, you can either choose to maintain that relationship or you can choose to go a separate way. You are not obligated to maintain a relationship. At that point, that relationship has to be earned. If it doesn't feel good, if it feels abusive, you have every right to not maintain that relationship. You don't have to exist for their benefit at your own cost while they're compromising your own mental health, while they're causing you to be stressed out. You don't have to do that. You absolutely do not. I know society will say that you should do that. You do not have an obligation to do that. The debt only goes one way. The debt goes from the parent to the child. It does not go from you to your parents. They created you. It doesn't matter how good of a parent they were. There's nothing they can do to compensate you for the imposition that they created. There's no amount of good parenting. There's no amount of wealth. There's nothing they can do to compensate you for imposing life on you without your consent. Now, let me read some more of these comments. Why is it their fault? I don't, because you set this entire thing in motion. Because you exercise godlike authority over your child, because the relationship is vertical, because it was your will imposed on a child, not the child exercising their will. People become no, Witchy. I understand you think that you don't have complete control, but you set this entire thing in motion. Even if you believe that the system has greater control, you put your child in that system. It still is your fault. It's the nature and nurture. Can you explain to me how it's not your fault? I'm trying to imagine a scenario where it's not your fault. I just can't see it. At the very least, can you explain to me how it is the child's fault? If the child is estranged from their parents, how is that the child's fault? I'm not going to be here very long, so I'm not even going to open up for a panel discussion. Taking responsibility for oneself is a rite of passage to adulthood. Take responsibility for what? You didn't choose any of this. You didn't. I mean, of course, you can take responsibility for making the most out of a bad situation. I'm talking about the parent-child relationship. You're not responsible for that. The parent is entirely responsible for the relationship they have with their children. It is in no way your fault. No way. No, I can't. I'm trying to be fair and look at it from the other side. I can't imagine a scenario in which it is child's fault that they did not maintain that relationship. Yeah, I'm not even going to talk about childhood ends and then what? And then the child is a slave to the state because that your parent, you rented your child and then you pimped your child out to the state to become a wage slave, to be oppressed by the state, to obey unjust laws. You set this entire thing in motion. It's like migrants. People feel negativity to bring it with them. No, no. It's not the same thing. A migrant is trying. Well, first of all, the parents created the migrant. So let's start with that. That a lot of these parents did procreate in systems in which there was no possibility for good quality of life. Right? They knew this. They knew that they were raising their children in poverty. And then after they create the child, it's like, now I want to create a better child for my life. Now I'm going to escape the very system that I put my children in, and now you should feel sorry for me. Let me come to your country with my 3 children, and then now it's your problem. I created these children, but now I'm going to flee to another country, put them on welfare, and then act like you should feel sorry. You should. I don't want to sound callous because obviously it's not the child's fault. But you created your children under those circumstances. So it's not this country's responsibility to take care of your children. If you're I'm trying to address what you said, migrate. The difference is that the child did not choose to exist. So I guess the comparison would be in terms of migration would be that my mother was abusive, and so I chose to live with my father. So I migrated from my abusive mother, to my father, who wasn't physically abusive, but he was psychologically abusive. So I chose to live with one parent over the other. That was a migration. A lot of children don't even have that option. A lot of parents are stuck with the one parent who is raising them. My quality of life increased dramatically once I lived with my father. It wasn't perfect, but my father lived in a nice middle class neighborhood. I had an allowance. He was gone a lot of times because he was working out of town. So my quality of life increased dramatically once I lived with him. Anyway, I don't. Maybe I can do another live stream where I can actually talk to you, and we can have a back and forth. But I hope that answers your question. I don't think it's the same thing as a migration. You're not a child anymore. Who's responsible now? Well, the parents created me, so they're still responsible. They're at least responsible for mitigating the harm that they set in motion by leaving me inheritance. My father disinherited me. My mother is still here, but I don't even give a shit. I actually don't want her money. I don't want anything from her. Um, but they did set this entire thing in motion. They did enslave me to the state, and now I don't even have autonomy over my own existence. I don't own my own life, which you have already conceded. Witchy, you conceded that we don't own our lives and that we are slaves. You're okay with that. I am not okay with that. I want to own my own life. The life that I never asked for in the first place, I should own that. No, 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 I should not inherit your debts because it only goes one way. They imposed life on me. I did not impose life on them. This is a vertical relationship where they have complete domination over me. I submitted to their will. I did what they told me to do. I was a good son who obeyed my parents. And so the debt only goes one way. I don't know how you think I have any obligation towards them. Yeah, thank you, Daniela. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how good of a parent you were. I'm talking about the structure of the relationship. It is vertical. It is necessarily vertical, and so that's only flow one way. Okay, then if they're adults and they have complete autonomy to do what they want, then these parents should not be whining about the fact that their children are estranged from them. Because if you believe that we have free will and autonomy, then why do I have an obligation to maintain a relationship with my abusive mother? Why do they complain, acting like you owe them something? If I'm an adult, then I'm free to do what I want. I don't have to tolerate her abuse. But the reason why they believe that you should tolerate their abuse because they don't see you as an autonomous human being. They think that you're their slave for the rest of your life. You owe them a debt that you should just obey and just submit to them. They don't see you're acting like you're an adult. I've had several people say this. Oh, you're an adult. You're grown. You can do what you want. That's not how they see this. They never see. Okay, maybe I'm speaking in general. I can only speak from the lens of my relationship to my parents. They never saw me as an adult. They always treated me as a child. Even though I moved out at the age of 17, they still manipulated me. When I was a child, my mother physically abused me and forced me to submit. But as an adult, she manipulated me psychologically. You're being disrespectful. I'm your mother. And then I just sort of complied because I thought that was the right thing to do. It wasn't until I was already in my 30s that I saw things for what they were. I mean, who's supposed to teach you these things? This is the reason why I do these live streams. This is the reason why I wrote my book, because I want people to know this stuff. Nobody told me this. Everybody always told me that I had to be respectful to my parents, to obey them. Yeah, that's a weird. I saw that for whatever reason he's always talking about you, but um, to be fair, I have my own share of stalkers too, so I know how it feels. They need to grow up. They need to grow up, even though they never chose to grow up. Can you explain to me how that works? That you had life imposing, now you need to grow up. I don't need to grow up. I don't need to exist. I didn't ask for this shit. And why is it, again, Witchy, that Pew Research study shows that 44% of parents believe that they have no financial obligation to their children, and yet, what was that percent? 70, what was it, 77%? I forget what the number was. An overwhelming majority of parents say that children owe an obligation to take care of their elderly parents. So why does it only go one way? Why is it that parents think that children owe their parents, but parents don't owe their children? All right, I'm trying to see if there's any other comments I should. Um, well, I'm not. I mean, it is what it is. At the end of the day, the difference between him and me is that I actually respect my guests. I do appreciate this. I had a time, and I'm still trying to grow my channel, but I had a time where I couldn't even get people to come on my live streams. I'm still struggling with my other channel, by the way. I wish my anarchist channel could get more participants, but if I'm doing a live stream, the live stream is not going to go well unless I have people participating. So when people come on, I do appreciate it. Even that's why you'll see me, like, there may be people who are rambling or getting off subject. I try to be patient because unlike D&W, by the way, I could kick them off and say they're being disruptive. They're not sticking to the topic. But I don't do that because I appreciate the fact that they're here. So I will try to steer them back to talk about the topic that we're on if I actually have a topic. But I'm not going to just kick you off summarily. I'm going to try to give you chances. I'm going to give you grace because I appreciate the fact that you're even on my channel. I'm the host and you're my guest, and that's how I see it. Again, y'all, I don't even listen to his channel anymore, so I don't know what he's saying about me. I don't listen. I don't know. I just people are coming to my chats and comments telling me what he said. I'm like, I did not see that. I honestly do not listen to anything that he says anymore. If someone tells me to go listen to a specific video, maybe I'll go check it out. But it's not as if I I'm subscribed. I'm not getting any notifications. Yes, it is boring. It is boring, and I'm not saying that he can't have a channel, but okay, whatever. I don't need to say it because you guys are already saying it. People already said that I was the draw on his channel. It was boring as hell. I don't know what his channel was like before I got there. It, I guess they had discussions, but it wasn't something where you look forward to it. It was just, it was dry. If you wanted something that you just wanted to listen to something, you could, but it wasn't like it was when I was there, where it's like you look forward to it because there's a stimulating debate. No, the energy has already been taken out of that channel because he didn't appreciate it. When I was there, I didn't want to talk about DNW, y'all. I that's not why I'm here. But I'm getting all these comments about DNW. I don't really want to talk about him. So if I am responding, it's because I'm responding. It's not because I voluntarily decided to throw shade at anybody. Right? No one has free will. So why do you think it's the child's fault that the child is estranged from the parent? When the power was completely unilateral, a lopsided relationship where the parents had complete domination over the child. There is no free will. So if there is no free will, then we go back to nature and nurture. The nature is the parents' fault because they have the parents' DNA, and the nurture is still the parents' fault. But when I have more time, maybe we can have a full discussion about that. Okay, yeah. Yeah, and but aside from that, my subscribers are actually anti-natalists. So that's a huge part of why they feel disillusioned. Because you're having panel discussions about anti-natalism and you're not even an anti-natalist. And you're hostile to the anti-natalists who come on your channel. You don't want to talk about it. You want to gaslight them and say they shouldn't be anti-natalist, but they should be vegan. So then you need to grow your channel with the support of vegans. Let vegans come to your channel and you can talk about veganism and let's see how well that works out for you. But the anti-natalists are going to support a channel from an actual anti-natalist. Well, I I was really disappointed with Cougar when I found out that his book was actually a novel, that it was not really based in science, and yet he's presenting himself as the expert. Anyway, I was really confused when he kept talking about his book, but once I found out that it was a novel, it all made sense. These predictions are not based in fact. Because I literally believe he said that the earth was going to come to an end this summer. And I asked him repeatedly, are you sure about that? And he still kept doubling on that, saying, yes, we're going to experience global heating. The world will come to an end by summer. And now he's backtracking and said, oh, I never said that. This book is a novel. It's not based in reality. I can't with them. Yeah, I need to finish David Hume. And what I found out about David, the the PDF uh, document that I was reading from, that was not David Hume entirely. There was some editorializing going on. So that PDF did not make clear about which part was David Hume and which part is the editor. So I need to go back and review it because I was confused because there were some contradictions in there, but the contradictions were not from David Hume. It was from the editorializing of it. Right. That's something that my father constantly brought up. Honor thy father and thy mother. I think he used the Bible to manipulate me. Basically, if you don't obey me, you're going to die and go to hell. Yes, 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 yes. You are so absolutely correct. And that I've never been stalked by a woman, by the way. That's never happened. Every time I've been stalked, it's always been by a man. Um, and presumably these men are usually ostensibly heterosexual, but I'm going to assume that they're probably bisexual. I've never been stalked by a homosexual male. It's always been a man who presents himself as being heterosexual. I don't understand the psychology behind it, but for whatever reason, they do become attached. They do see me as being um, a quality source of narcissistic supply, and they can't fucking let it go. For whatever reason, I'm good at stroking a man's ego, and they feel entitled to it. I don't know. I don't know what it is because I don't do it on purpose. I'm not sure what you mean by disinheritance. I don't believe that parents should have the right to disinherit their children. I explained that in my book, and chapter 2, I believe it was. You want to own what was never given to you, right? What? Okay, Witchy. I'm trying to be fair with you, but they're saying that life is a gift. I'm saying it's not a gift; it's an imposition. But if it's a gift, I'm using their own language. They're saying it's a gift, so I should own it. If my gift, if if my life was a gift, then I should own my life. The state should not own it. And I shouldn't have to pay for a gift. If it was a gift, then they should pay for it entirely. They should maintain the gift. If I have to pay for it, then it's not a gift, it's an imposition. I think man should lie with man. I think man lying with man will put an end to all this. I think that if man lies with man and woman lies with woman, then none of us will ever have to suffer and die. Okay, I am going to be getting out of here. I think I'm almost done with these comments. That's what it feels like to me. It feels very rapey. It feels like I'm saying no and you're taking my no as yes. I'm saying I don't want to talk to you and you're still trying to talk to me anyway. You don't give a shit about what I want. It feels very rapey. It's like if you had the opportunity to get your way by force, you probably would do that. Yeah, I have. Well, we'll we'll see how far this goes, but I don't see that coming to an end. I you know, it's like as long as I'm here, as long as they have access, I'm not even talking to these people out of the way, but they're still listening to my comment. They're still lurking. Um, they just can't let it go. So they're gonna get their narcissistic supply one way or the other, whether I want to give it to them or not. They're still gonna try to make content at my expense. They're still gonna try to build their channels at my expense. And they want me to engage with. I don't understand how you completely disrespected me, told me to get the fuck off your channel, and now that you can't get the views that you hope to get, now you think I'm going to come back. What do I get out of that? You have utterly disrespected me. You didn't fucking apologize. Why would I go back to your channel? You didn't even interview me about my book like you said you would do. I'm not going back to your channel. Fuck that. Pull your boot. Exactly. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Except you didn't even choose to have bootstraps in the first place. That's something they gave you the boots. They created the condition in which you needed boots in the first place. And not only that, your bootstraps are not only to pull yourself up, they want you to pull them up at the same time. They're the dead weight. They're the ones who want to extract from you. They think that you should exist to serve them, to serve their needs, to validate them. So even if you are going to pull yourself up by your bootstraps to make the most out of a shitty situation, that's not enough. It's not enough that you want to get a career and live your best life. No, they want to extract. They still want you to tolerate their abuse, to validate them, to talk to them, make them feel good. Call them on Mother's Day. They want to take credit for all your accomplishments. So no, they don't want you to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. They want you to pull them up by your bootstraps. They want you to carry them. They are dead fucking weight. Well, I'm an anarchist and an anti-natalist, so yeah, I think some people they don't understand. Like, I think some people think that my channel is more anarchist than anti-natalist, or vice versa, and it's both. I'm streaming on two channels. One channel is dedicated primarily to anti-natalism, and the other is dedicated primarily to anarchy. So when I do live streams, I'm usually streaming on both channels, and then I will have anarchists coming on who are not anti-natalists and anti-natalists who are not anarchists. So they know that I'm both, and so I understand that most of my subscribers are not both. So he has a diss track. Okay. I mean, this is somebody who's very upset, somebody who's very triggered. He kicked me off his channel, but yet he still wants me to go back to help him grow his channel. Why would I do that? And I actually feel a sense of relief because the main reason that I was going on there is because, first of all, I wanted to debate people who would help me strengthen my argument, people who would give me some type of pushback. I've debated people so many times about the same topics. Now these debates have become so repetitive. I'm not getting anything out of it. Again, he never interviewed me about my book. So why would I keep going back to your channel? So you're going to create a diss track? This for shits and giggles. Does anybody have the diss track? Can anybody post a diss track? Maybe I can play it right now. If not, I'll check it out later. Somebody post a diss track so I can listen to it. You know what? No, I'm not going to play it on my channel because he could do a copyright strike. This posted, and then I can listen to it, and then we can talk about that later. But I must be really important that I have an entire diss track. I haven't been on your channel in 2 or 3 weeks, and you're still fucking talking about me. I'm not going back on his channel. Why would I do that? Hell to the fucking no. I'm not doing that shit. Okay, Witchy, I'll take that. And when we had a meeting of the minds, it's the fact that you support my right to opt out. So I'm good with you. My book is based on this synergy between anti-natalism, anarchy, primordialism and socialism. So if I don't know, I'll take what I can get. Basically, it's not all or nothing. You support my right to opt out, then I'll take it. Yeah, don't let them fucking bully you. Don't let them bully you. And that's why he says that I don't have any empathy. He thinks I'm a narcissist because I'm not vegan. I don't want to talk about veganism anymore because every time I do, they get triggered and they unsubscribe. So I, I'll leave that alone. If you guys want to talk about it, you can bring it up when we do a live stream. When I do have a panel discussion, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to talk about veganism. That's their issue. It's not mine. If you want me to go vegan, then you have to support my cause. It's going to be reciprocity. It's not going to be a vertical relationship of vegan supremacy where vegans are entitled to support from everybody else, but they don't have to support other people's causes. Has Vegan Gains gone back on his channel? I would say that Finding Gnosis is actually empowered. It's powered by Danny Shine primarily. Danny Shine is the draw for his channel. Danny Shine has a successful YouTube channel. Let me stop. But yeah, I just think he's trying to extract from other content creators. He's trying to leech off Vegan Gains. That's why he's pissed, because he wanted me to come on his channel to debate Vegan Gains. I'm not doing that shit. Why would I do that? I'm not going. I guess the last time I debated Vegan Gains, he probably got a lot of views from that. He ran clips. But where is my cut? The only thing I ask is that you interview me about my book, and you have not done that. Well, that is unfortunate that she procreated, but as I recall, I think she would support her children's right to opt out. So there's that. Yeah, you know what? I need to. I'm still on a trial subscription to StreamYard, so I guess I do need to give you my what do you call it? Either Zelle. I need to give you the link. I'll email you that. So I guess once my trial subscription is, I'll send it to you so you can either do a Zelle or a what do you call that? The Cash App. All right, y'all. I got to get out of here. I need to go get something to eat. Let me read this last comment before I get. I say life is a gift because you have a unique present moment. Yes, I have a unique present moment to suffer and die, to be extracted from, to be dominated by the state. Thank you so much for that gift. Wounds make tombs. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have time. I'm a wage slave, so I have to work to maintain my involuntary existence. The answer to the question of this live, the answer is always yes. Hopefully, if you have not already, please touch on no contact. Right, I've already gone no contact. I don't. This is not the first time I've gone no contact with my mother. I did before. She didn't really apologize. She just threw a whole pity party. There was a death in the family, and I went to the funeral, and then she made it all about her. And so I reconnected with her through that funeral, and then she went right back to her abusive ways because she never was sorry in the first place. Is he live right now? I didn't know he was live. Yeah, that really has to hurt. That really has to hurt because Yeah, he thought that I couldn't get people to come to my channel. Um, we'll see, because as my channel grows, and the difference between him and myself is that I'm not using other people to grow my channel. I don't have to use. I'm not streaming on Danny Shine's channel. I'm not a tag along. I'm not extracting from other people. I'm not using other people to help grow my channel. Oh yeah, I gotta go. It's so many comments. Every time I think I'm finished, I agree with you. I think they go hand in hand. Um, no, I think okay. I gotta go. I just want people to basically forgive themselves that if you do have an abusive relationship and you don't want to maintain that relationship, you don't have a duty to do that. Um, Nobody ever told me that. It's something I had to learn myself. And again, I had to tell my brother that. My brother felt obligated to maintain a relationship with my mother, even though she was being abusive. He felt guilty. So relieve yourself of that guilt. Yeah, I'm going to be following. Actually, I have more than two, but I want to give Devon an opportunity. So I need to get her email address so I can contact. But let me stop. I'm trying to keep people's anonymity. I don't want to say who these people are because I don't want you guys to look them up and dox them. So yes, I do have people who have asked me to be directed for my nonprofit, and I will hopefully get that filed soon, and then hopefully I can start raising money. I just need to think about how I want to structure the nonprofit because I can't use it for lobbying. I want Let me stop. I already said I'm not going to talk about what I want to do politically because I don't want to be sabotaged and I don't want these people to be doxxed. So I'm not going to talk about it publicly. I guess I'll email you about the information as I get everything filed. Well, I'm not going to talk. Which unfortunately I'm not going to talk about it on this channel. I'm not going to talk about it on YouTube because I don't want these people. I'm trying to protect people. I'm trying to protect myself and these other people. What I'm trying to do is far too important to have people sabotage it. So yeah, I'm going to keep that separate from YouTube. That would require an entire live stream. I'm not going to talk about that right now. Long story short, she beat the shit out of me and she sabotaged my career. That is, yeah, that's very revealing. Okay, I gotta go, y'all. I appreciate your comments, but okay, thank you. Thank you for getting the book. Yeah, see, yeah, that's pretty screwed up. I gotta go, y'all. I'm trying to get through these comments, but it's a lot. Um, okay, thank you. I'll go back and look at this later, and then I'll get. But I gotta go, y'all. So y'all have a good day. Hopefully I'll be doing another live stream. I'll definitely be doing a live stream on Thursday. I'm not sure what I'm going to do prior to that. Take care.